What if Donald Trump is tariffing the rest of the world, not to reinvest it in America, but to put it back into his pockets? The Supreme Court is reviewing Donald Trump's tariffs that are likely unconstitutional. They had their first hearing about it last week, and the justices seemed very skeptical about the power Donald Trump said he was allowed to invoke. And here is just a bit of what they had to say.
You say it's incidental to the regulatory purpose, but I don't see how a quota is equivalent to revenue raising. A quota sets a limit to what you can import in, but it doesn't generate revenue.
All right, pretty stale stuff. All right, it's the Supreme Court. It's not entertainment tonight. But a paraphrase of what was said there is the majority of Supreme Court justices on Wednesday asked skeptical questions about President Trump's use of emergency powers to impose tariffs on imports from nearly every U.S. trading partner, casting doubt on a centerpiece of the administration's second-term agenda. It went on to say here that conservative justices Gorsuch and Barrett, both nominees of President Trump, raised separation of power concerns. They suggested the administration's position could represent an unconstitutional delegation of legislative power to the executive branch that would be difficult for Congress to reclaim. Justice Gorsuch warned of a, quote, one-way ratchet toward the gradual but continual accretion of power in the executive branch and away from the people's elected representatives in Congress. So when Donald Trump heard that, he's a narcissist, right? So he's always trying to figure out, am I winning or am I losing? Am I up or am I down? Am I the powerful one or am I the one who is without power? And so his spidey senses were tingling when he heard this, and he freaked out. And he posted something that I think kind of gave the game away, that the money that we've been taking in might not even be there anymore. Because here's what Donald Trump tweeted. Now, you let me know if you can figure out what it really means, but I think I have an understanding of what he's saying here. The U.S. Supreme Court was given the wrong numbers. The, quote, unwind in the event of a negative decision on tariffs would be including investments made to be made in return of funds in excess of $3 trillion. It would not be possible to ever make up for that kind of, quote, drubbing. That would truly become an insurmountable national security event and devastating to the future of the country, possibly non-sustainable. I think I understand what he's trying to say here. Now, I do think he wrote this because it reads like a Trump tweet. Now, the part that Joyce Vance, a former district attorney for Alabama, said, quote, including investments made. That's an interesting thing to say, including investments made, because as far as I know, the tariffs can't be touched by the president. In fact, the only branch of our government that can decide how money is spent is Congress. We know this because, well, we are living through a government shutdown that is all about that, the funding of our government. Donald Trump didn't shut it down. Republicans did, by way of Democrats not going along with what they wanted. Now, I actually asked Google this just to make sure. No, the president cannot decide how tariff money is spent. Only Congress has the power to approve government spending. Tariff revenue goes into U.S. Treasury's general fund, and it is Congress's job to appropriate those funds for specific purposes. When tariffs are collected, they are sent to the U.S. Treasury's general fund, similar to tax revenue. From the general fund, it is Congress that must decide how the money is used. The president can propose how the money would be spent, such as direct rebate checks to Americans, but they cannot unilaterally order the money to be spent out. Any spending plan would, again, be required by Congress to do so through legislative processes. Okay, great. I also said to myself, all right, well, obviously there's no way for Donald Trump to then just take that money and put it somewhere else, right? That couldn't be possible. And Google also agreed with me on that. It said it is not possible for a president of the United States to personally steal tariff revenue. The U.S. Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the power of the purse. It kind of just doubled down on the whole thing again. Instead, being stolen tariff money can be allocated in different ways, and it listed all these things it can do. Okay? But then I remembered one thing. Something that Google didn't think of. Do you remember when Elon Musk gained control of the treasury systems? I do. It was a big deal. In fact, it was one of the first protests that ever happened. It said here on CBS, this is February 5th, Elon Musk's access to treasury payment system is raising alarms. Here's what to know. With Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency gaining control of the U.S. Treasury Department's payment system, consumer advocates and Democratic lawmakers are raising alarms about the group's access to the federal government's financial spigot, as well as sensitive data such as Social Security numbers of most taxpayers. All right, well, this is what Elizabeth Warren said. She said, controlling the system could allow the Trump administration to unilaterally and illegally cut off payments from millions of Americans, putting at risk their financial security of families and businesses based on political favoritism or the whims of Mr. Musk and those on his team who have worked their way inside. Okay, so they were worried that they were going to stop grant money, they're going to stop the flow of money to places that the funds had already been appropriated for. And they did do that, and judges stopped them, and they kind of like gave up that part of the game. But what I am proposing to you is that Donald Trump isn't worried about cutting off money that's going out to other people. Donald Trump has created a new form of payments to himself. And as we know, all of the watchdogs in government have been fired. So we don't know where the tariff money is sitting, how it's been spent, if it's been spent. I would like to know where the tariff money is. Certainly, there should be a line item in some bank system that says the tariff funds are here, and we can figure out where they all came from and where the tariff money is sitting. Do you think that exists? I don't think that exists. I think what has happened is that Donald Trump, through way of Doge, gained access to the payment systems, and then he found a way to give the money to himself. And this is another reason why I think this is what happened. Because Donald Trump just a couple days ago shared a false claim that Obama earned $40 million in royalties from Obamacare. I'm not going to go into this stupid conspiracy theory, but we do know that every time Donald Trump accuses someone of something, what he's actually doing is pointing a finger at himself. Whether it's saying that an election is being rigged, whether he's saying that someone is a criminal, or on and on and on. So I'm just saying there seems to be a problem that Donald Trump is tweeting that it would be nearly impossible to return the tariff money if that's what the Supreme Court decided to do, unwind, as he puts it. And he's also admitting here that the money has already been invested. So my question is, where has it been invested? And we do know that that is illegal for him to touch that money and put it somewhere else. But apparently he's saying that's what's happened without any congressional approval. I feel like this is the job for Congress to investigate. I wish we had the leaders willing to do it. Perhaps we do. But this is all I can do is let you know what I think is happening, which is that Donald Trump stole the tariff money and it's gone. I hope to be proven wrong. But we do know that Donald Trump, when given money meant for something else, likes to spend it on himself. He did the exact same thing with his charity. So let's keep watching this. Please do hit like so more people see it. Please subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.